Picture yourself existing 50,000 years in the past. There are no courts, no judges, and no lawyers charging hourly fees for work described in terms you only partly grasp. There are no prisons, no police forces, and no notices about local code breaches left on your door in a passive-aggressive manner while you were away handling daily tasks. No organization of any sort exists that is devoted to the official, structured, government-approved handling of justice. Then a member of your band steals your food, or strikes a weaker person without cause, or continually takes more than a fair portion at every shared meal, while the others silently resent it and stay quiet one by one because no one wishes to be the first to raise the issue. Or that person begins acting in a manner that leaves the rest of the group feeling truly and constantly unsafe, unstable, aggressive, and hard to predict. This is the sort of individual whose presence turns the social climate of a small band from cooperative and workable into strained, alert, and silently drained. What action do you take? This is not a question meant only to make you appreciate current institutions. It ranks among the most significant practical challenges that early humans confronted without pause over hundreds of thousands of years of life, and they found a solution. They did not use stone tablets, written statutes, or any official body we would identify today as a justice system. Their solution involved something older, more adaptable, more socially aware, and in certain respects, more truly equal than what came later. The method they used reveals something deep about the origins of every legal system that appeared afterward. Here is a fact that most people have never learned. The urge to punish did not arise from civilization. The tools for social justice did not appear with cities, rulers, and written codes cut into smooth stone columns. Those tools already operated in a clearly workable and notably advanced form among small hunter-gatherer bands well before any of those developments. People constructed systems of justice before they constructed walls. We will examine precisely how the process functioned, and then what occurred once civilization emerged and chose to make everything official. To begin, it is necessary to grasp the social setting of life before agriculture, because that setting alters every aspect of what punishment meant, how it functioned, and why it assumed the particular shapes it did. The pre-agricultural hunter-gatherers we mean when we refer to ancient humans in this setting lived in small, highly mobile bands that usually numbered between 20 and 50 people. Everyone was known to everyone else. Hiding your actions for any extended period was impossible. You could not build a carefully managed image as a generous and reliable person in one area while acting quite differently elsewhere because no separate area existed. The band made up the whole social universe, and it watched everything you did without pause, since, in a group of that size, almost no private action escapes eventual notice through closeness, watching, and the oldest human information system, which is gossip. We will return to that point later. This produced a social setting that differed sharply from modern anonymous city life in one key respect. Your reputation was not just socially significant, it was existential in the most direct meaning of the term. Your survival, your entry to shared resources, your capacity to form alliances that counted during sickness or injury or conflict, your chances of reproduction, and your ability to request group aid when you were weak, all came straight from your position inside the band. If you ruined your reputation, you did not simply lose social rank the way a person today loses social rank. You lost entry to everything the group made available, which in a Paleolithic setting amounted to nearly everything that kept you from a very hard, solitary life in a land filled with predators, uncertain food supplies, and no formal safety system of any kind. That fact formed the base for the whole pre-agricultural justice system. It was not law, not authority, and not force used by appointed officials. The base was mutual dependence, the recognition of mutual dependence, and the shared, unspoken knowledge that never required writing, that remaining a member in good standing inside this particular group of people was the single most valuable thing you owned. The anthropologist Christopher Boehm devoted decades to examining hunter-gatherer societies on every inhabited continent and recorded their methods of social control in major works, especially his book, Hierarchy in the Forest, issued by Harvard University Press. After carefully reviewing data from 48 separate human societies that covered the complete geographic span of human hunter-gatherer life, he reached a conclusion that was both neat and truly surprising to modern views. Hunter-gatherer societies were not lawless. They did not run on pure personal survival drive with no social rules. They were strongly, intentionally, and jointly egalitarian. And they kept that equality through an advanced multi-stage system of social pressure that worked without any official body, appointed leader, or written rule of any sort. Boehm named it the reverse dominance hierarchy, and that label points to something key. In most primate groups, such as chimpanzees, gorillas, and baboons, the strong rule the weak. Dominant animals claim the finest food, the preferred partners, and the best resting spots. Rank comes from strength, is held by threat, and those at the bottom yield because those at the top can realistically injure them. Power moves from the top down. Hunter-gatherers reversed this completely. In band societies, the group, as a single social unit, ruled the individual. If anyone began taking more than a fair share of food, gaining more status than the band accepted, or holding more sway over choices than an equal among equals should have, the group united against that person. This happened not through any official procedure, but through joint, ongoing, rising social pressure that began mild and grew steadily stronger until the issue was fixed or the person was gone. The system used stages that were clear, steady, and recorded, and that showed up with notable likeness across cultures that never met each other. The opening stage was gossip. Before you set that aside as unimportant, consider what gossip truly accomplishes in this setting, because it performs real work. Among hunter-gatherers, gossip is not casual social amusement. It is a strong and practically vital instrument for joint moral control. When a person started acting in ways the band saw as wrong, such as stockpiling food, intimidating weaker people, or free-riding on others' work while giving far less than expected, the band began discussing it. At first, they did not speak to the person directly, but talked among themselves, forming a common view that this particular individual's particular actions formed a particular problem. They built agreement and aligned a shared reading of events before any open step was taken, so that when open action came, it carried the full force of united band opinion instead of a personal charge that the person could brush off or strike back at alone. Studies of living hunter-gatherer groups, including the Kung San of the Kalahari, the Hadza of Tanzania, the Juhuansi, and several Aboriginal Australian groups, repeatedly show gossip filling exactly this control role. It serves as the first alert system, the band bulletin, the agreement-forming tool, and the social judgment channel, all at once in everyday talk. Before any official penalty is used in these groups, the band has already formed an unofficial shared judgment through countless brief talks that together make up a type of joint social hearing held without any set place, judge, or set of steps. The person usually senses that the talk is going on. In a band of about 30 people living always close together, you notice the change in social climate. Talks halt when you come near. Sharing becomes a bit less easy. Eye contact is adjusted differently. And often at this stage alone, before anything more official happens, the person alters their actions because they grasp, without anyone stating it clearly, what the later stages involve and what the final result of the process will be if they fail to adjust. This is prevention without a criminal statute. It works through reputation processes that predate language itself. If gossip did not bring the needed change, the second stage was open criticism and mockery given in front of the whole band. In a small band society, public mockery is not a slight social awkwardness that you endure and later put out of mind. It is a major social occurrence with lasting structural effects. When the band chooses to face a person's actions openly by naming them, ridiculing them, and pointing them out clearly in a setting where all who are there grasp exactly what is taking place, the target receives a very exact message. The informal shelter and favor the band usually gives its members has been officially put on hold for you until behavior improves. Your standing is being openly lowered in a manner that all see, and that enters the band's common view of who you are. Boehm's studies found this pattern with notable regularity across cultures divided by thousands of miles and thousands of years. The Inuit of the Arctic, the Kung San of Southern Africa, and several Aboriginal Australian groups all kept living customs of open criticism and mockery directed especially at people who stockpiled goods, tried to control social choices, intimidated others, or declined to join in the mutual sharing that formed the economic base of band life. The exact shapes differed. The purpose stayed the same. One especially notable form of this, that shows up again and again across cultures, is what researchers call leveling mechanisms. These are group practices created with clear purpose to stop any person from gathering more status, goods, or social power than the band's equal norms allowed. In several recorded hunter-gatherer cultures, a successful hunter was not supposed to declare or praise his own success. A man who came back to camp and loudly stated that he had made an outstanding kill, that he had shown special skill, and that the band should note his part was seen as rude, socially awkward, and possibly risky in his clear desire for status. He would be ridiculed. The kill was genuine, the food was divided, all ate it, yet the social recognition was spread among the group rather than focused on the person who made it. If he resisted that spreading, if he demanded the recognition he believed he had earned, the band resisted more strongly. What seemed like an argument over credit was seen by all present as an argument over power, and letting one person gather power beyond what the equal structure allowed was seen as a real threat to the social order that protected everyone. When open mockery did not bring change, the third stage was exclusion. This stage carried results that in the ancient setting were truly harsh. In a present-day city, being shut out by a social circle is hurtful and hard, but in the end, livable. Other social paths exist. You can change neighborhoods, enter new groups, and rebuild a social life from the start. The city holds thousands of people you have not yet met. The systems of modern life, such as food supply, housing, and medical help, do not rest on any one group accepting you. In a small band of 20 to 50 people, traveling through a Paleolithic land with the closest other human band, possibly weeks of hard travel distant, being shut out of the community was not a social result in the modern meaning. It was a delayed death sentence given without anyone needing to injure you physically. You could not hunt as well alone as a coordinated band could. You could not protect yourself from predators while sleeping without others on watch. You could not handle large animals, care for wounds, live through major sickness, carry young children, or keep up the many small joint tasks that group life made possible and solitary life made almost impossible. Being left out of the band cut off the cooperative base that made personal survival workable in tough settings. It laid bare every weakness that membership in the group had been quietly covering. Exclusion in recorded hunter-gatherer societies worked in levels that fit the rising structure of the entire system. At first, it might appear as a slight drop in sharing. The person stayed officially part of group activities, but noticed that food and goods came to them a bit less easily than before, that helpers were somehow less ready when required, and that the social friendliness that once surrounded them had been lowered in ways that were real yet each one could deny. If the actions went on, the exclusion became official. In highly mobile bands, the group could simply shift camp without the person. This was a particular harshness, open only to people who move often and who fully control whether any given person knows where they have gone. Cases recorded in many ethnographic sources involved lasting bullies, repeated resource thieves, and people who kept breaking sexual limits inside the group. For these people, when exclusion was fully used, the results shown in the ethnographic record were usually one of two outcomes. Either behavioral change, in which the person showed real improvement, was carefully brought back in, and was monitored closely afterward, or death, either from the practical dangers of being alone or from the move to the fourth and last stage. The fourth stage was killing. Hunter-gatherer execution ranks among the most regularly recorded and most truly surprising discoveries in the large ethnographic writings on band societies. Boehm gathered execution cases from dozens of hunter-gatherer cultures on several continents and found the practice not only common, but structurally steady in ways that show a clear, basic logic rather than chance violence. When a band member had done offenses serious enough and, importantly, had not reacted to every milder step the community had used through several rounds of rising pressure, the group jointly reached an agreed choice to kill that person. It was not an appointed leader acting under official order. It was not a chief using sole power. The whole adult community formed agreement through the same shared discussion process that marked every earlier stage. And then a few people, usually men, carried out the act for everyone at once. The intentional joint nature of the choice was not accidental. It was the entire purpose. A person who killed another band member was a killer and would be handled as one, possibly put through the same process just seen applied to someone else. A community that had jointly agreed that a member had become an unbearable danger to all and that had jointly chosen to remove that danger was doing something wholly different from personal violence. The group nature of the act took it out of the area of private complaint and put it clearly into the area of social need. Blame was spread so widely that no one person carried the full load of it. The offenses that brought this final community reaction were steady across cultures to a level that itself matters. Unprovoked and repeated serious violence against band members, repeated killing inside the band, and predatory sexual actions that the person had shown through several rounds of milder steps, and that would not cease. The bar was not one act in the heat of a fight. The pattern before community-approved killing was almost always one of recorded rising steps. A person who had been cautioned, ridiculed, partly shut out, fully shut out, and who had answered each stage by keeping on or increasing exactly the actions that made them a danger to all around them. In its basic form, this is clearly a justice system, not a crude early version of one, not the rough first outline of something that would later become law. It is a justice system. It has balance. Small offenses bring small penalties. Serious offenses rise through steadily harsher answers. It has procedure. The community does not leap from first offense to killing. It moves carefully through stages, with room for change at each level. It has agreement. No one person chooses alone. It has aim. The clear goal is not private payback, but the return and keeping of a workable, safe, joint social setting for all who rely on it. Now move ahead several thousand years, because this is the point where the account takes a turn that makes the simple story of human progress more complex. When people settled into farming societies and started building the first cities and official states, the justice system did not at once get better in every way. It became more complex. It was put into writing. It became able to scale in ways that small band social control never could. And it brought in something that the hunter-gatherer system, despite its limits and occasional harshness, had been carefully and intentionally built to stop. The oldest physical law code that researchers have recovered so far is the Code of Ur-Nammu, written in ancient Sumer in Mesopotamia around 2100 to 2050 BC, more than 4,000 years ago. It was written on clay tablets in cuneiform writing, arranged in a logical if-then form that any present-day lawmaker would know at once. If a person does offense X, then the legal result is Y. It was clear, readable, steady, and written so that it applied in a predictable way to all, rather than being handled differently in each separate case by whoever was in charge that day. What is truly notable about the Code of Ur-Nammu, when examined closely, is the way it handled physical injury between ordinary people. For body harm, such as putting out someone's eye, breaking someone's bone, or knocking out a tooth, the code set money fines instead of physical payback. A put-out eye cost the offender half a mina of silver. A knocked-out tooth cost 2 shekels of silver. The focus was on money payment to the victim rather than physical penalty put on the offender. Restore the balance through money. Make the injured party whole, or as near to whole as money could do. Murder, robbery, adultery, and rape remain death offenses. But the general handling of physical harm between ordinary people was, by the measure of what came right after it in the historical record, surprisingly restrained. That restrained approach did not last the next 3 centuries whole. Around 1750 BC, a Babylonian king named Hammurabi ordered what became the best-known legal text in all of ancient history. 282 laws cut into a black diorite pillar more than 7 feet high, found by French researchers in 1901 in what is now Iran, and now kept in the Louvre in Paris, where it stays one of the most seen objects in the museum. Hammurabi's code moved firmly and intentionally away from the payment model of Ur-Nammu towards something the ancient world would become forever linked with: an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The rule is called lex talionis, the law of payback. Hammurabi did not create the idea, but he raised it to an official importance it had never before reached in written law. Under his code, the penalty was made to match the crime in a physical and direct way. If a builder put up a house that fell and killed the owner's son, the builder's son would be put to death. Not the builder, his son. The idea of joint family blame for personal crimes created some of the code's most notable, and to present-day eyes, most disturbing rules. But the part of Hammurabi's code that most clearly sets it apart from all that came before, including the hunter-gatherer system Boehm recorded, is its clear, official, built-in class ranking of penalty. If a free man put out the eye of another free man, the free man lost his eye. If the same free man put out the eye of a slave, he paid a fine. The body injury in both cases was the same. The social rank of the victim set the whole legal answer. The harm to the victim was identical. The law handled it as wholly different based on who the victim was. This was truly new. This was what settled, ranked, officially ruled society added to the justice balance. Official, written, steadily applied rules which marked a real step forward over purely case-by-case personal choices, joined with clear writing of inequality into the form of penalty itself. The hunter-gatherer band, with its strong leveling practices and its reverse dominance hierarchy, and its deep group distrust of any person gathering uneven power or privilege, would have seen this at once as exactly the thing it had been working so hard for so long to stop. Boehm recorded how hunter-gatherer groups actively fought attempts by any member to demand special handling, including especially the claim that harm done to a more important person called for a more serious answer than harm done to a less important one. The entire reverse dominance hierarchy existed to stop exactly that thinking from taking root. Civilization put that thinking into law and named it justice. Here is what all of this comes to, and it truly deserves a moment of thought. The hunter-gatherer justice system, with its rising stages, going from gossip through mockery through exclusion through group killing, operating on joint agreement rather than appointed power, kept by shared social duty rather than official staff, was not a rough, unfinished early model of what came later. In several key ways, it was more advanced than the early written codes that took its place. It had real balance built in from the start. It had multi-stage procedure, with room for change at every level. It had a sharing ethics written into its form. The strong were not free from social penalty. The whole point of the reverse dominance hierarchy was that no one was free. Being stronger or better at hunting or more appealing gave you no shield at all from group enforcement of common behavior rules. If anything, gathering any of those benefits made the community watch you more closely, not less. The move to written codes, official bodies, and trained legal systems brought real and irreplaceable gains. Predictability across a far larger population, shelter from purely random personal choices by whoever held power at any time, and the capacity to rule communities far too big for everyone to know everyone else personally. Yet it also brought the official writing of social inequality into the form of justice itself, in a manner that the hunter-gatherer system had been actively and knowingly resisting for most of human life. The early human standing in joint judgment over a lasting bully who had ignored every milder step the community offered did not have a courtroom or a gavel or a legal code or a trained set of terms for what they were doing. But they had something that every court in every civilization that came after was trying, with different levels of success, to copy: the real agreement of a community that jointly cared about the result. Everything else, the codes, the courts, the carved stone pillars, the lawyers, was support structure. The drive it was built around was already fully present before any of